used for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Hey, welcome back, guys. Carl Rominger here, weekend appointment. At the law firm, we're always looking for new and creative ways to serve you better. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but Wayland Industries is now launched, and I actually have the Tuesday's edition of the Wall Street Journal here, full-page ad, the new David 8 robot. And I want you to play, because they have some advertising materials on Wayland, it's a website where David 8 introduces himself. And I think he's going to make a perfect lawyer. Listen to this.
Hello, I'm David.
What can you do, David?
I can do almost anything that could possibly be asked of me. I can assist your employees. I can make your organization more efficient. I can carry out directives that my human counterparts might find distressing or unethical.
So there you go. David 8 may be the new associate at Rominger and Associates. Anyhow, I mean, think about that. You need a robot that can just kind of go to court, do what you need. And notice how he says he can carry out things that his human counterparts may find unethical. Now, lawyers are bound by ethics, but as you know, most people seem to find our ethics distressing. Seth, you're on the air.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Hey, actually, can you use my alias as Slappy White real quick?
Slappy, yeah, whatever.
Okay. Hey, so I actually have a buddy who's a cop up in Susquehanna Township, and basically he was informing me that his, his commanding officer said with the new texting law, they're technically and legally not allowed to use their computers while driving.
There's an exception for law enforcement in the new texting law.
Okay. Well, apparently they had a big meeting, and that was the topic of it. He said they're technically not allowed to. That's what he was told. So I don't know if it's department or by department or whatnot, but so from your understanding, though, it is. Yeah, there is an exception for law enforcement.
Yeah, I thought there was a law enforcement exception in there.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe the memo didn't get up there yet.
Listen, well, let's not tell them.
What's that?
Let's not tell them.
Well, right. So then that kind of destroyed my question. But my question was, so then what happens if you're driving and they run your plate while driving, and then they pull you over for, let's just say, an outstanding, ticket or whatnot?
Yeah, it's interesting. Most violations of the law do not warrant suppression of the actual criminal conduct. So, for instance, when they violate a constitutional right, a base constitutional right, you can get suppression as a remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Although there's a lot of exceptions to that. Under the Uniform Municipal Jurisdiction, Police Officer Jurisdiction Act, or whatever, the USMG, whatever it is, if one police department pulls you over illegally outside their jurisdiction, courts have struggled with whether suppression is the remedy or not. And our Superior Court has said that sometimes a violation of it will not lead to a loss of the ability to prosecute you. So I would guess under the texting law, they may say, yeah, somebody should probably charge the officer with a summary offense, but nobody is, so good luck.
Right.
And in the meantime, who cares if he broke the law? You still broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of what my mom used to say, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Right. But 2 rights make an airplane. But, hey, also, with it being said, remember the other caller that has the landscaping company?
Yes.
Now, this is changing topics. If a company informs you that they're going to record the conversation, does that ultimately give you the right, without informing them, that you can record the conversation also without telling them?
Interestingly, under Pennsylvania law, to intercept a wire communication, like a telephone communication, I think requires at least one of the parties to consent. So if one of the parties has already consented to a recording, I think you might be okay. I know you're okay with a recording of an oral conversation, AURAL, right? So, in other words, if it's sound you're recording, and a person's in an area where they have no expectation of privacy, or they've removed the expectation of privacy by recording it themselves, then you could record it. On a wire, like on a telephone, it's a slightly different scenario, and I'd have to actually do the research. But I think if they're doing, they may have given up they may have consented to a recording when they created the recording themselves and informed you of it.
Okay.
But that would be the issue.
So technically, whenever you go on the phone with somebody and then they give you this is for quality assurance. Basically, if you don't hang up, you automatically gave consent, plain and simple.
The short answer is yeah, you kind of given consent because I told you that. Although I'm always fascinated by that, right? I've actually told people on the phone, I don't consent to being recorded, and I think under Pennsylvania law that's a wiretap violation. That's fun with the telemarketers.
Yeah, I got you.
But I think there's some exception. I think there's a case out there that talks about it and says, well, when the call's coming in from out of state and they're in compliance with their state and it's just being done for purposes of JCPenney credit card people monitoring the quality assurance of their phone operators. And then let's go one step farther. Let's just be honest. Most of the time you're going to have to get an international warrant, right? So.
Oh, right. Yeah, because
everything's overseas now. You're probably talking to somebody who's been trained to lose their accent in another country.
Yeah.
Named Joe. Actually named Peggy, right? Yeah, right. All right, my friend.
That's fine. All right, take care, brother.
540-0580. For those guys that don't get the Peggy joke, you're just not watching enough television, I guess. Because if you watch enough television, you'll know who Peggy is taking your calls. For your, was that Capital One? Is that a Capital One ad? Is that, I forget which bank that is. Oh, boy. What we were talking about in the last hour, we were talking a lot about it being 420 yesterday and whether marijuana should be legal or not. If you guys have some thoughts on that, I'd be happy to hear it. I'm opposed to the use of marijuana, but I'm not sure that the government's resources being spent fighting a war on drugs that keeps losing. I think Albert Einstein had said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think we've been fighting the war on drugs now for 30, 40, 50 years with no great success. And I think the war on marijuana was mainly kicked off in order to help nylon along, but who knows? Mary, you're on the air.
Yes. I recently took a test that supposedly is a similar test if you want to work for federal government.
Okay.
And there's one question on it that has to do with an attorney, and when I asked the question of someone else, they said, well, I don't understand that. I said, well, I'll have to ask Carl.
All right.
Okay, the question is, a suspect has the right to have an attorney present during a lineup after he or she has been, and then it has 4 different choices: arrested, interrogated, arraigned, or released.
I would say arrested.
Oh, well, they said it was arraigned. Now, the question my friend asked me was, well, I thought you could always have an attorney present.
Well, you have a right to have an attorney present at any critical stage of your proceedings. And that's interesting. Maybe they're trying to say that the arrest itself doesn't trigger the right to have an attorney present for the lineup. I don't know. I mean, once you're arraigned, you're in a court system, and then you probably definitely should have an attorney present.
But can't you always have an attorney present?
Yeah, that's my theory, is that they can't put you in well, let me put it this way. Pennsylvania, I don't know the answer to that. If you're arrested in Pennsylvania, taken down to the station, okay, you have the right to get an attorney before you give any statements, but you don't have the right to have an attorney necessarily just to sit there. And then if they want to come in and interrogate you, they can tell you have a right to an attorney, but until you invoke it, it doesn't exist. And if they will put you in a lineup, that's a form of physical testing for which whether or not you have an attorney may be irrelevant. I don't know. Sounds like, Shane, can you remind me to find the answer to this?
Well, I definitely didn't get the answer right.
And I can't imagine that's going to be the same in every state either, by the way.
Oh, now that would be a good thing to say when you have the test and you get it wrong.
Right, because well, here's why I say this. For instance, in Pennsylvania, you have the right to have an attorney at any matter which will carry jail time or could carry jail time, okay?
Right.
The United States Supreme Court has said that you don't have to have an attorney or the right to an attorney. In other words, an attorney doesn't have to be provided at no cost. I shouldn't say this. You have the right to have an attorney if you can afford one, but your free attorney, your public defender, in most states only applies if the charge carries more than 6 months in jail.
Ah, okay.
Okay? That's the bare federal minimum, but Pennsylvania gives a right that if the charge can carry jail time, then you shall have an attorney if you can't afford one.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carl.
All right, good luck.
Bye.
Got to go to break. See you guys in a minute. Welcome back. 540-0580. Carl Romager here answering your legal questions. For those of you who weren't in on the joke last segment, that was a clip of David 8, who is the robot / android who's going to be in the new upcoming movie Prometheus. Because if your name is Ridley Scott, when you build a movie, it has to have aliens, spaceships, and a human-like android who participates in the mission. Not busted on him because the movie looks pretty good, actually. It looks like it has potential to be a real blockbuster, and of course I'm sure it'll open up a whole new series. But they've done a entire viral marketing campaign around it. It's coming out about a month now, and I will be there, probably opening night if I can do it. Jay, what do you think about the ganja, the wacky weed?
Oh, I missed a little bit of what you said. You said did you say you're opposed to it, meaning you personally wouldn't do it, but you don't think it should be illegal?
Yeah, kind of like an abortion.
Okay, well, now we really don't have too much to fight about, but let me ask you this. It seems to me, this is kind of an opinion thing, that guys, you get a guy who gets caught with a few joints or something, they probably get more jail time than lately I've seen a lot of, especially women, and especially middle-aged white women, to be honest about it, who are caught embezzling from the PTA or the local, firehouse or fire company, or in the case of the Philadelphia School District or the Philadelphia Archdiocese, they're embezzling for 20 years or something.
Right.
Millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, the long and short of it is, and I say this, long and short story, long story, the amount of jail time you get for any particular crime is hard to say because it all varies based on a lot of circumstances. But a lot of times financial crimes, it doesn't behoove anybody to place anybody in jail for a long period of time because the person has the capacity to earn restitution and pay it back, and that's in everybody's best interest.
How is a person convicted, especially of something like a financial crime like that, going to even find work?
Well, that's another problem, too. Now, Judge Posner, who from the Law and Economics School, has opined that no crime should carry jail time unless it's a violent crime, and that all crimes can be dealt with sufficiently with financial incentives, and that everybody wins in those circumstances.
Well, I'll bet you there's a lot of thieves on Wall Street that serve very little time, or I don't even know if they're even prosecuted, frankly. I mean, I know how it's a good old boy network.
I was on Lake Minnetonka one time out in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Very nice little boat ride, eating some walleye from the lake that tasted really good, and the captain says, "You see that house over there?" And there's a boathouse that looks like a mansion, and then above it is the real mansion. He's like, that belongs to Milken, and that's what happens when you go to jail for junk bonds. You get to keep that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no real justice there, but there's a lot of injustice throughout
real justice,
the legal system. So.
Real justice. There is no such thing as justice. Is actually what? A process and a result, maybe. Although the result isn't always just, the process might have been just. More interestingly, though, is what do you rate as justice? And I guess that is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Well, I used to, I used to be a pretty good a religious person. I'll put it that way. So I believed in an afterlife and punishment and so forth, and reward after we live.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure now. I'm not sure there is anything, and I always thought, well, if there isn't, then I guess a lot of bad guys got away with it because essentially they just died a few years earlier than they would have anyway.
Well, Jay, that's Pascal's challenge, right? He says you might as well run on the side that there is an afterlife and you have to do certain things in order to get those rewards, because if you cease to exist, it doesn't matter. But the only rational aspect of the gamble is to go that direction. On the other hand, Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi and Kim Il-sung all took different bets, although I give Kim a lot of credit. He's one of the only dictators to die happy, right?
Yeah, but I'm afraid we're boring your listeners with philosophy here, right?
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Carl. Bye.
Bye. Dan, you're on the air.
Hey, Carl. I had a question about overtime and breaks at a workplace. It's
yes.
non-union. How how many hours a day can they actually make you work, and do they have to give you breaks? Can they work you straight through your 8, 12, or 16-hour day with no breaks?
I don't think that there's a requirement to give breaks, but there might be. Might be. I think there is some amount of short breaks that have to be given. I don't think they're very much. And overtime can be mandatory. But I think there is an upper limit of how many hours they can make you work. But again, I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. What I would advise you to do is to Google that.
Oh, okay.
And the reason is you're going to find the numbers somewhere.
All right, yeah, I haven't had any luck, so I figured, hey, I'll call Carl, see if he has any ideas.
I don't know them off the top of my head. I know that employees have a lot less rights than we would think they do.
Right, now I'm finding there's almost no rights in Pennsylvania for workers.
Yeah, no, there is almost no rights. Yeah. But that's the Republican way, and this is WHP 580, and we support that. It's a kind of a joke, but my point is that's the conservative theory is this. Right? The conservative theory is this. If you don't like your job, just go find another one because they're just falling off trees out there, and it's easy to get another one. So it doesn't matter. And you know what? If you can't find a job, that's your problem. You can feed yourself, and nobody ever starves to death, and nobody's poor because it all trickles down. Now, I'm a very conservative, financial, anti-government kind of guy in a lot of respects. So I kind of subscribe to that, but I'm also smart enough to realize that when the unemployment rate is, 20% or whatever it actually is, despite what they tell you, if you quit your job, if you say, take this job and shove it, well...
there are a lot of jobs out there, but the pay rate's dismal right now.
And that's the other thing. There's a huge downward pressure on wages right now. When people are getting let go, they're not getting replaced with people who are getting paid what they were getting paid.
Correct, yeah.
And that tends to suck out of the entire economy. And then let's not forget that thanks to our great federal government and their ability to manage our energy situation, they've now managed to regulate oil and gas into the point of $4 a gallon for the low-grade stuff.
That's a whole other situation there.
And that's going to suck. It's going to suck money. And I'm going to editorialize. You got me started for 1 second here on the economy. Gas prices are going to continue to suck the free cash out of this economy. So goodbye any chance of recovery.
Yeah, I drive a great distance to and from work, and that's really
it's going to hammer.
Wallet right now, yeah.
Let me explain it this way: if the cost of your commute goes up in a week's time, $40, right?
Right.
2 or 3 weeks of that, you're not even going to know it. After a year, that's $2,000 of your after-tax income that disappeared someplace and it wouldn't have been spent somewhere else before. Now multiply that by 100 million people, right? $2,000. That's like, I don't know, Shane, can you do the math on that one? That's a lot of money. It's 200 million, right? Then you add three more zeros to that. It's like 20 billion, 200 billion. I don't know. It's some massive amount of money that's not going somewhere else, but going straight into
the pocket of the government coffers.
Yeah, and it also, by the way, because as it depresses the use of gasoline, and because our good state, Pennsylvania being one of them, is hugely dependent on liquid fuel taxes, depresses state coffers as well, which also keeps them hurting as well. Now, here's my point on all this. That's going on there, right? Now, the next shock, and I keep telling everybody this, watch the Spanish bond market. The Spanish bonds keep going up and giving higher yields, and the higher their percentage points tells you how risky they are. And they're starting to look like Greek bonds shortly here. And so the Europeans are about to fall back into a crisis again. And Spain and Italy and possibly France are all very economically soft right now. Germany's doing okay, but even they're not as well off as they would like to be.
Sucked out of them supporting everybody else, though.
So what's going to happen over there is they're going to continue to collapse. That's going to ripple back to us because that's going to hurt our big financier, China, as well. Anyhow, long story short, I am not very confident that in the next few months we won't see the economy going further south. And I think that the run-up on the stock market lately and where it's been is insane. And I caught an article in Forbes that says that I'm probably right. And I always think that when Forbes agrees with me, maybe there's a 50% chance we're both right.
Something going on there.
Yeah. So anyhow, but yeah, all that started with workers' rights. But yeah, Pennsylvania is a tough state to work in. there's very little due. The flip side is there has to be a balance somewhere, because it is in places like the European countries where we tell employers you can't fire somebody, that they can't downsize and they can't go the opposite direction.
Yeah, we don't want to go that far. Just some rights that people can actually have a decent living and not be used as slaves. I always thought, slavery went out with the Civil War, but apparently not. So.
Well, and the answer on that is if you think about it, that's always been the historic struggle. I mean, it wasn't that many years ago that they used to lock. Remember the Triangle fire, right?
Correct.
They used to lock the ladies up in there, and it wasn't too long before that they used to lock the kids up. I just got a giant stuffed moose as a gift, and one of the things on it said that it was made without child labor. And well, congratulations, it was made without child labor. I guess it wasn't made in one of the 60 other countries that still lock 12-year-olds up in a room to sew things.
That's terrible. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyhow, my friend, take care.
All right, thank you, Carl.
Got to go to break. Get your money out of Spain. Hey, welcome back. Okay, let's talk about the Secret Service scandal for a minute. I mean, obviously it was not a good idea, but, and I do know that a president of the United States told us that it's okay as long as you don't break the laws of the country you're in at the time you're in it. So at least under Bill Clinton's theory, right, they really didn't do anything wrong because they weren't breaking Colombian law. I mean, that's just my point. Now, they may be breaking some internal guidelines and obviously create some security issues. Bob Durgan talked about this, and he said, it's kind of embarrassing, but boys will be boys. I'm not sure boys will be boys would wash, but anyhow, it just seemed interesting. I think what's bigger deal here, though, is with so many people involved, I can't believe this is the first time, right? Let's just think about this. I mean, all these fellows are involved in this, and it seems to be no big deal. Now, according to somebody, this seems like a setup because there was some kind of haggle over price, and all of a sudden the police are called, and it just seems like the Colombian government or somebody in it or somebody along the line set this whole thing up to embarrass the United States. So maybe we should just get rid of the guys that were involved and move on. I don't know. But I don't think it's as big a deal as anybody would think it could be, except from the security aspects, and that's the problem. But I think what I would take from it is you can't have this many people involved in it and it haven't been the first time, right? So I think that's the big concern. They're going to have to do a little purging over there. John, I want to talk about the economy.
Carl, can you hear me?
I got you.
I'm going to go to the other phone while I'm talking. You are the man. You know that.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I agree with you on so many subjects, but I'm surprised I got in. Maybe people must be mowing their lawns or something, but are you still there?
I'm here.
Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you.
Okay, I want to, yeah. Okay.
No, the other phone was better, John.
The other phone's better. Okay, how's that better?
That's perfect.
Okay, now, real fast, because I don't want to, I know I got limited time. You got a lot of callers. The Secret Service, boys will be boys. If you were in the military, that kind of stuff, regardless. I think the news media probably blows it up. But anyways, I want to go back to the economy, what you were talking about earlier real quick. Who's really messing with us the most is our own government, our own Congress. I feel that one big reason jobs go overseas and we built up China because we're so stupid. Walter Mondale, and even here Tom Ridge in this state. These people have consulting firms and they make tons of money. No one ever goes in. The news never goes into this. They go over to China. Even Warren Buffett, I consider him somewhat of a traitor. He goes over there and cuts deals so that they introduce people to high levels in this government, and they cut these deals. And then not on top of that, this Congress keeps raising taxes on businesses, I feel, including like the EPA. I believe the EPA is way out of line. They have moved I think the oil companies, which we're not trusting totally, but the oil companies, Aramco, ExxonMobil, they cut deals with Saudi Arabia a long time ago, even World War II days, after World War II. But the reason a lot of that oil is brought over halfway around the world, drilled over there, brought halfway around the world, is because the tax laws and the EPA is discouraging companies from drilling around here. We got, you don't want to do it in my backyard. I don't want to do it in my backyard. Well, come on over to my backyard and drill a couple wells and give me $6,000 a month. I would be fine with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
John says, not in my backyard, but build it in my front yard.
Yeah. Any part of the yard.
John,
I know friends of mine. My wife, she has friends up north, in that it is pretty terrible. There's a lot of noise and junk going around, but they do have a well, and they're getting paid so much a month on their 5 or 7 acres they have up there. And hey, so be it.
Now, John, I will tell you. You talk about transfers of technology and manufacturing prowess to China. I mean, for years we've been shipping entire steel mills over there. I mean, literally.
Exactly. Why don't we teach them all our little secrets about how to make steel and Boeing? I would say Boeing. I used to reveal a little bit of myself, but I got engineering background, aviation. I know Boeing, and I did spend some time with Boeing. And Boeing, not so much as Airbus. Airbus is actually stupider than Boeing. They show that they build parts of the fuselage and other parts, the tail back in China. They're not giving away the airfoil secrets and how to build the airfoil, because that's really what determines the fuel efficiency of these planes. But the thing of it is, we give them our technology, and nobody pays attention. We've been doing it for years, like you said.
Oh, they got caught. I mean, who got caught? One of the big contractors got caught transferring the missile launch technology. I'm sorry, the satellite launch technology. That's also missile launch technology to the Chinese. But actually, that's the U.S. government's fault, because mainly we were having trouble getting satellites up into the air, so people had to outsource and unload anywhere they could find them.
Yeah, so we cancel our own space program, and then now we show them all our technology. So now China. What's the other one on the other side? Not China, but France has always been doing it. Or the Russians. Now, here's real fast. Everybody likes Ronald Reagan. So let me explain this to you about Ronald Reagan. He two sides. He's the guy that started taxing the tips on the waitresses. What a nice guy that guy is. And the measly savings that your mother and father made in their lousy passbook savings account. He's the guy that created the 1099. But anyways, okay, so he took down the Russians. But guess what we did after we took down the Russians? We gave them all our stuff. We showed them all our technologies. Most of the IMF tax money, the IMF money is from American tax money, and we boosted up their economy. Are we dumb or what?
Well, the answer is, I think at the time we had some illusion that they were going to be. So we have the American illusion. The American illusion is that we can walk into any other country and teach them how to become democratic and free people. And for some reason, it's worked exactly one time, twice. I don't know. But we gave the Russians all that, and we thought they'd become a nice. Now it's Putinville, right?
You can't trust the Russians for 2 cents. I'm telling you. Just like we don't want to offend anybody on the radio show, but that's as far as I go. You can't trust the Russians for 2 cents. But yeah.
Oh, no, it's not just the Russians. It's we thought we would bring peace and democracy to this country and that country and that country. And the problem is, for a democratic system to evolve, it requires so many things. And it requires so much nurturing, and it requires so many institutional changes.
And here's the other angle I always said. I don't know if you've ever mentioned that on your show, but we try to go around the third world countries and boost them up. It all sounds fine and good in the theory. So can we help them? And then in the end, they become, they can afford some of our stuff. You know what? That takes 2 or 3 or 4 generations. By the time we're shooting ourselves in the foot, we're boosting up everybody else, but we're knocking ourselves down. That theory doesn't work either.
And I could go on and on. John, I got to let you go and answer some legal questions here, but thanks.
You're the man, Carl. You're the man.
Well, hey, thank you.
Right, okay.
540-0580. Frank, you're on the air.
Carl.
Yeah.
Thanks for leading me on. I want to change the subject here just a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
I need your help on a question here on Medicare.
All right.
I've been a federal employee for 35 years, just short of 35. I retired in 1973, and I was under no Medicare.
Okay.
Now I went back to every year I get a statement from the federal government on my Social Security for my wife and myself. Now, I didn't have no Medicare, but they told me on the slip that I have, they're charging me $4,556 a year for my wife and I on Medicare. Now, last year they charged me $4,760, and this has been going on now. My grandson, who was my not attorney, what do you call him?
CPA?
Yeah. He got in touch with him about 3 years ago, and we've been battling this thing, and we can't get nowhere. Over the whole period of time since I've been retired, I'm 99 years old. I'm in my right mind. You know what I mean? But Social Security and this Medicare is a hoax. They have taken $92,000 from me. And I got every slip that I ever earned with the government since I went on. They told me I had to have Medicare. To get it, I had to go over and work for Social Security.
Right.
I went to and got a job in Social Security for a quarter, 20 quarters. I went on Social Security in '89. And now everything that I have, they keep charging me double every year. My wife's down to $27, and I'm down to $291. Besides my federal pension, I don't mind it. But when they charge me all this money, $92,000 is a lot of money.
And that was for what? For the Medicare benefit?
For my Medicare payments every month.
Huh.
Now, I just... Hey, I don't mind paying. If I pay my normal amount on Medicare, you follow me?
Right.
Which is $900 or $1,200 a year. Why am I being penalized? What's wrong here?
I don't know. This is something that I would...
Can I see another lawyer?
Yeah, you know what? And I would... if you want to hold on the line for a second... wait a minute. Let me see if I can find this. You want to hold on through the break? Just hold on through the break.
Okay.
All right, hold on. We go to break. You can also use the Roundup to write your name in your neighbor's lawn. Works pretty well. 540-0580. You guys think I'm kidding. All right, Frank, you still there?
Yeah.
All right. I want you to call Keystone Elder Law. Okay?
Keystone?
Elder Law. You ready? Not Keith Stone, but Keystone Elder Law.
Keystone Elder Law.
Yeah.
Right?
It's 697
3223.
3223. 3223.
3223.
697-3223. Got it?
697-3223.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you call them.
Where are they located?
Camp Hill, Mechanicsburg.
Are they all right? Competent?
Highly competent. I wouldn't recommend them if I didn't think so.
Well, what bothers me, this is outrageous.
Well, you call them and let them see what they have to say, because that's more their expertise than mine, okay?
Yeah.
All right, my friend.
Right, thanks, Carl.
Right, take care.
Right, I will.
That might be our oldest listener at 99. I don't know. And, just ask for Keith Stone. Some people know who I'm talking about. 540-0580 if you want to get your legal questions answered. Still got a few minutes left, so don't hesitate to call in. And, of course, throughout the week, you can check us out at romingerlaw.com. The office number, if you need a lawyer, by the way, for us is 717-241-6070. Again, that's 717-241-6070. And I always mention it when I mention romingerlaw.com because I know some of you don't have internet access. But you can also look me up on Facebook. It's Carl with a K, Rominger, Rominger. Feel free to friend me. We get some exclusive content there. But, just want to make sure you know where to find me. So, and again, we've got 6 lawyers. Lee Mandarina, who's been with us for a little while, who's also licensed in New York, just got licensed in Pennsylvania. So congratulations on passing the Pennsylvania bar. So now he can do PA and New York. And we have a couple lawyers who can do New Jersey, including Steve Snyder. So just want to make sure you know that as well. So, if you need a lawyer in New Jersey, you need a lawyer in PA, you need a lawyer in New York, we can handle all 3 states, but we mainly practice in the central Pennsylvania area. And again, you can go to romingerlaw.com. Clark, you're on the air.
Hey, this is your New England agent.
Yeah.
You know who I am.
What's going on?
I'm the guy that got you on BZ, by the way.
Oh, all right.
Okay. A byproduct of your website that had that video.
Yes.
From Virginia.
Yes.
Dan, as we know, picked up on your name on there, and you end up getting on his show, and I know you've been on a couple of times since the original time.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Anyway, I have a question for you. By the way, that last caller, I'm wondering if he originally signed up for Medicare.
Right.
There is a large penalty if you don't sign up immediately. Also, if you've had a lot of income, you can get hit with a double charge for Medicare coverage. So there are a couple of areas that he would have to pursue. But my question has to do with IRS liens. When you can go on your county website and you see liens are filed by the IRS?
Uh-huh.
It usually lists an address. Are they filing against the house that they may record in the filing?
I don't know the answer on that.
Because in some cases, the people actually don't own those properties.
Yeah, and if somebody doesn't own the property, then that shouldn't be a problem. It should run with the name, but I don't know how that would be read. I would imagine it would be an in rem. It would say in rem if it's against a property, as opposed against the person. But
because I know in a couple of cases, a couple of tax clients that we have, the recordings in the county shows the address in which they're living at, but they don't own that property.
Right.
And in some cases, it may be they were just renting there, and you see federal tax lien filed. However, if you go to the property, I'm not sure how the counties do this, but in some counties, I'm down in the Philadelphia area, Montgomery and Bucks County, and Montgomery County is more user-friendly than Bucks County is, and the information doesn't usually say that there is a lien unless the lien is probably filed by the county. I've not come across where it says that there is a lien on property, but yet in the filing it does quote the address in which they are currently living, which they may not own, which they are renting. So I was just curious to know whether, in fact, would the IRS be that stupid?
No, I don't think so. I mean, and the answer is they may just be listing that as an address of record for the person that they served the notice of lien on.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest explanation of it.
But again, I can imagine if I, for instance, were doing the title work on a property, and I came across that, I would want some clarifications before I would certify the title.
Right, and that's what I'm curious, that the people that actually own the property have a problem if they go to sell, and this is showing up, against that property, but then that would mean the due diligence wasn't done by the IRS to ascertain who actually owns that piece of property.
Right, if it was actually being liened against the property. And I guess that would be the question, is what the interpretation would be on that.
Yes, and now as far as you were talking about the economy, you just basically said one from one side and one from the other side. Wages are depressed.
Right.
That might be a positive for the economy.
Well, it can be. It certainly can be, which is why, did you not notice? Oh, I say, did you not notice? Did you not notice this little interesting quirk, right? Who has all the cash right now, and who's piling up cash left and right? All the businesses are.
All the corporations, yes.
Because,
rich.
Because they can in this current market, and they're hoarding it, they're not spending it. And part of the argument, Bob Brinker and some of the other guys will say, and I agree with them, is
dividends.
And they don't know what to do with the money. In other words, because they're so uncertain as to what's really going to happen with health care, what the nominal tax rates are actually going to be, blah, 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 everybody's sort of holding off committing it to anything in case they bet in the wrong direction.
Right.
And so more certainty would allow people to actually start to spend down some of these coffers.
Well, I mean, look at the bubbles that are existing out there. We had, the mortgage market, the housing market, credit cards. The next bubble is, the Occupy people and the college debt.
Right.
That's the next thing that's out there. And if Obama wins, will he try to pass legislation that you can claim bankruptcy for college debt?
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thinking. That's where he's going to buy votes from the younger group to suggest that he'll look at bankruptcy as a possibility. So,
yeah.
There you go.
And that's all government guaranteed.
Well, yeah, I mean, the colleges, you could say basically the colleges are in cahoot with the government.
Well, actually, that's an interesting point. I've talked about this before. Only in higher education has an inflation rate higher than healthcare, best I can tell.
Exactly, yeah. And books in colleges are in cahoots together. The textbook people, I mean, that should have been investigated 20 years ago.
Clark, take care.
Okay, have a good one.
Call next week.
Righto, bye.
Guys, I will be back next week, of course, broadcasting live. Going to help you answer all your legal questions, all your legal problems throughout the week. Just go to romingerlaw.com. And, Clark had some very interesting points. Remember, just get all your money out of Spain. That's my theory. And watch for John Roberts as a surprise vote on health care.